these bones live. You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the Pilgrims were good to Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit and let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody. Good morning, Facebookers, Instagrammers, Twitter Spacers, wherever you are on social media. Good morning to you, my brothers and my sisters. Welcome to another Friday edition. It's the Black Love Experience. I got a little John Coltrane playing in the background that y'all can't hear. Y'all already know what it is. You know, Facebook will shut my stream off if I play Coltrane too long over the air. So if y'all want to hear it, go to WTCC FM or to TuneIn Radio, go to iHeartRadio, um, and you can hear it. Give me a few minutes and I'll throw on some stuff that y'all can vibe with. In the meantime, tell a friend, tell somebody Bishop is on the air. Thank God it's Friday. Interesting case that I read about yesterday um, that kind of falls in line with some of the stuff that I'm dealing with. In any case, I want to talk about American justice, the hypocrisy that is still inherent in the criminal injustice system is still mind-boggling, and people try to act like it doesn't exist when we know it does. Um, so that's the subject that we're dealing with today. I'm going to tie it into what's happening in Southwick, the announcement that was made yesterday that 6 white juveniles um, are going to be prosecuted because of the role that they played in racial harassment and bullying of black students. Um, and there was a reporter in Southwick yesterday who did some interviews with residents who ironically agreed that their actions were reprehensible and that there needed to be consequences, but they disagreed with them being charged. That's going way too far. Actually, charging them with a crime. So, so the amazing thing to me is when white folks say, "Yeah, this criminal activity was wrong, but our children don't need to be charged with a crime." you know, they should still be able to get away with it, you know, with a slap on the wrist. It's amazing. So we're gonna talk about the injustice system. Got a little Otis Redding popping in the background. Once again, you can go to WTCCFM.org. I do a little jazz on Fridays because I took over this spot for my uncle, former state rep Ben Swan, jazz aficionado, and he would always start out the program with "In a Sentimental Mood" by John Coltrane. So that's why I started that way and play a little Otis Redding and stuff in his honor. So if you want to hear it, you know what to do. You know what to do. But do me a favor, rep your city, rep your town. Tell a friend, tell somebody Bishop is on the air right now, eating some lemon loaf. Getting ready to get into this conversation. Let's get it, y'all. Let's get it. Try a little tenderness. sentimental. She has her grief and cares. Easier. Do-do-do-do-do. Never leave. All right, let's get it, y'all. But the essence of growth is change. The being in the road will be the end of the road if you refuse to change. 90.7 WTCC. Good morning and welcome to the Black Love Experience. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan II. I want to thank Elder Rick Robb for bringing us up until the 9 o'clock hour, bringing us that good gospel music. You can hear Elder Rick Robb and Deacon Ernie Johnson every Friday morning, bringing you the best and inspirational music. Good way to end your work week. You started out with Kenneth Barnett and the promise, and you end it with the Deke and the Elder. And I'm sandwiched in between both bookends. Um, do me a favor, rep your city, rep your town. If you're on the social media spaces, let me know what part of the nation or the world that you are chiming in from. Always like to know where my listeners are chiming in from. Tell a friend, tell somebody. We are on the air. Let me see. We got here. All right. Florida Eastern. That's my Kojic buddy. Good morning, baby girl. My daughter from Chicago. My usual Houston crowd is up in the building. Good morning, Pennsauken, New Jersey. St. Petersburg, Florida is in the building. Savannah, Georgia is up in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. Let me see who's over here. Uh, Quebec, Canada is in the building. Kansas City, Missouri is in the building. St. Louis is in the building. New York City is in the building. Greenville, South Carolina is in the house. Good morning, good morning, good morning to you. Is the field in here? Yes, the field is in here. Good morning, good morning. Another Houston. Houston, stay deep up in this piece. Yeah, Orlando, Florida is up in the building. Good morning, Orlando, Florida. Let's see. Who else? We got Dallas, Texas in the house. We got another Houston. Houston, just stay up in here. Boy, London, England is in the building. Good morning to my international audience up in here. Raleigh, North Carolina, Winston-Salem. All right. The Carolinas checking in. TGIF, thank God it's Friday. Um, End of the work week for some. I see you, missionary kids. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning to every one of you. Listen, I see Los Angeles, California in the house. I want to talk about the decision that was announced by District Attorney Anthony Gallooni yesterday in the Southwick case, and some of the reaction to it. And I want to tie that into today's subject. We're talking about American justice, white and unaccountable. So put on your scuba gear. It might go a little deep today, um, but that's okay. That's what we do on a regular. Tell somebody the bishop is on the air right now. Right now. Um, so tell them to check in. All right. Tell them to check in right now. All right. Today is March 15th. When I was in high school, my high school English teacher um, was teaching us about um, Roman history. We were reading Roman literature, and we learned about the Ides of March, um, the day that Julius Caesar was assassinated by his fellow members of the Senate. And supposedly on that day, this woman came up to him several times and said, "Behold the Ides of March. Behold the Ides of March." I used to tease my older sister Rhonda and tell her that she was born on the Ides of March, on March 15th. We lost Rhonda in 2015 to breast cancer. Um, I believe that's probably the roughest loss that I've had to date that I can remember. And though we knew she was transitioning, it didn't hit any softer on December 23rd, 2015, when she made her transition. Today, she's a year older than I, and we're getting up there. Today would have been Rhonda's big 6-0, would have been her 60th birthday. Um, my siblings and I started this uh, some 20 some odd years ago, where on major birthdays like that, we would take a trip somewhere together, a sibling trip. Um, and so we would probably be going out of the country somewhere around this time if Rhonda were still with us to celebrate her big 6-0. We celebrated her 50th the year before she passed away in Costa Rica, one of her favorite places. And so, happy heavenly birthday, Rhonda. Um, we miss you so much. This is Rhonda Swan. I like what I see.
I look in the mirror and I like what I see. A strong, beautiful black woman staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from and hit, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop to their level. Don't go down. I rose above that nonsense and made a liar of the devil. All right now. The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love, I kicked his butt with divine power from above. Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm a child of the King. Abundant love for me he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror, I love what I see. That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the spoken word. I had to take a short one there. That tribute was a little more emotional than I thought it would get. Um, but happy birthday to my big sis, and to all of the March babies. Um, my other sister Frida had a birthday a few days ago. She and Rhonda, both Pisces. Um, my my twin sons, um, Tyler and Trey, had their birthday on the 10th. It's hard to believe that they turned 33 years old, um, but they did. And that just means I'm getting old. Um, so they had their birthday. My wife's birthday is in 4 days on the 19th. Um, I won't tell you how old she's turning. She calls it 50 fly. So it's 50 something. You go ahead and guess what number it is. Um, and then my oldest granddaughter, Marie, her birthday is on the 28th. And she'll be sweet 16 um, in a few days. Hard to believe I got a grandbaby that's 16 years old. And congratulations, by the way, Tyler Marie and the Lady Eagles Central High basketball team on a great season. Coach G and the entire team. They are the Western Massachusetts champions. My baby girl in her sophomore year had a great year. She's got 2 more years, and I'm looking for bigger and better things. We went all the way to the Final Four in the state championships. So, looking for big things. She out there playing ball like her papa. Yeah, don't hate. Don't none of y'all hate. I know y'all start hating, especially the ones in the family, because they just don't want to admit that I was the baddest ball player in the family. My niece Renee, who played for Central and then went on to play college ball. She thinks it's her. I don't know why, but my nephew Seneca, I think he had to. He never was able to touch me. And they know that's the problem. The younger people, they know we was never able to get with Uncle Robert. And we're mad because the old guy used to put it on us. It is what it is. And I probably could come out of retirement and still put it on us. I'm just saying. When you got it, you got it. It is what it is. So, she take after her papa. 413-736-2781 is the number here. As you all know, in case you didn't know, if you were hiding under a rock and you just didn't know, because you didn't know, District Attorney Anthony Gallooni is moving forward with charges against the youth in Southwick that are accused of racial harassment and bullying, including that mock slave auction where they were auctioning off their fellow black students. Let me play a little bit of this newsreel for those of you who I guess you just weren't paying attention, and you need to be updated. And let's give you a quick little update on what's happening.
A lot of damning details revealed today by District Attorney Anthony Gallooni, and now 6 juveniles, all of whom at the 8th grade level are in serious trouble.
Bullying, especially when it involves race, is an insidious force within a school community and within a community at large.
A very emotional Hamden District Attorney Anthony Gallooni as he revealed late Thursday morning the findings of his investigation into alleged racial bullying at Southwick Regional School. Now, 6 students are facing charges. One of them charged with interference with civil rights, threat to commit a crime, and witness interference. Another charged with interference with civil rights and threat to commit a crime, while 4 others were charged with threat to commit a crime.
Several students uttered hateful and racist comments, including notions of violence toward people of color, racial slurs, derogatory pictures and videos, and a mock slave auction directed at 2 juveniles known to them.
Gallooni was personally made aware of this incident on the 15th, shortly after his office received a complaint from the NAACP of Greater Springfield. Western Mass News spoke with the president of the chapter, Reverend Talbert Swan, who spoke with Gallooni before Tuesday morning's announcement. Swan calling the charges appropriate.
He took the case seriously, and hopefully this will provide some level of justice for these families. We're glad that these individuals will now be held accountable for their actions, and we'll see where this goes in terms of the prosecution.
Allison Lopez has told Western Mass News her daughter was a victim of the derogatory comments and online slave auction. She brought these allegations to light. In response to the announced charges, Lopez sent a statement to us, which reads in part, "Moving forward, it is imperative that both the school district and the parents of those prosecuted take a long, hard look at how they have contributed to the environment that enabled these expressions of racial hatred to flourish. Only through reflection, accountability, and proactive measures to address systemic racism can we hope to prevent similar tragedies in the future." Swan also looking for accountability from the school district.
There's no way that they can convince me that they took appropriate action. What they did was they took action so that they could check a box so that they would be in minimal compliance with a bullying prevention and intervention policy that they are mandated by state law to have.
And Gallooni had this stark promise for the public.
With this, I intend to be very clear. Hatred and racism have no place in this community. And where this behavior becomes criminal, I will ensure that we act, and act with swift resolve.
All right. There you have it. So 6 young people have been charged with crimes around this racial bullying. And there's been some mixed reaction around that. I did a slew of interviews yesterday, ranging from some national news outlets, probably 5 or 6 in the Boston area, and those throughout Western Mass. And some of those were telling me the responses that they were getting in Southwick from the residents, and how residents of Southwick were saying that they condemn the behavior of the students. However, they thought that the consequences don't fit the crime. That somehow charging them with a crime is a bridge too far. That goes overboard. Oh, these are just kids. These are just kids. They should have gotten something lesser. I guess maybe that 2-day suspension that they were getting, most of them were getting, was enough in their minds. And see, therein lies a problem. Because those same folks would have had no problem with young Black kids being charged with a crime. Do you know the youngest? Let me look this up. I want to give you the right name. The youngest person to ever be put to death in America to receive the death penalty was a black boy for a crime he didn't commit. That's the history of America. George Stinney was executed in South Carolina. He was 90-pound, 14-year-old black boy. The same age as some of these young people who have been charged in Southwick. The same age. He was playing in his yard with his sister when two young white girls approached and asked if they could find flowers. Several hours later, when the girls failed to return home, a search party was organized to find them. Young George Stinney joined with the search party, and he casually mentioned to a bystander that he had seen the girls earlier. The next day, their dead bodies were found in a shallow ditch, and George was immediately arrested for their murders. Subjected to hours of interrogation without his parents, without an attorney. And then the sheriff claimed that George confessed to the murder. There's no recording or anything of that happening. His father was fired from his job. His family was forced to run away from the town amidst threats against their lives. A mob attempted to lynch George, but he had already been moved to an out-of-town jail. He faced a sham trial alone, without family, without supporters. No black people were allowed inside the courthouse. His court-appointed attorney was a tax lawyer who had political aspirations. He didn't call a single witness. The only thing the prosecution offered was the sheriff's testimony about George's alleged confession. That was the only evidence used. A white jury deliberated for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And convicted him of rape and murder. And the judge immediately sentenced the 14-year-old to die. And they executed him. 70 years later, a South Carolina judge held a 2-day hearing that included testimony from 3 of George's surviving siblings, from members of the search party, and several experts. The state argued that despite all the unfairness in the case, that George's conviction should stand. But the trial court disagreed, and they vacated the conviction and found that he was fundamentally deprived of due process, that the alleged confession could not be said to be voluntary, if it even happened, that it basically was a sham trial, and they put a young black boy to death for no reason other than the fact that he was black. I gave you that story about George Stinney to kind of set the backdrop for context that in America, They don't see black youth as youth. They don't get the benefit of the doubt that white children get. They don't get the empathy that white children get. They don't get the, oh, they're just a kid. They don't get the boys will be boys. You remember when Brett Kavanaugh was going through his confirmation hearings to become a Supreme Court justice? And there were allegations that he sexually assaulted a young lady as a full-grown person. But they were using the boys will be boys defense. They use boys will be boys for grown white men. And for black boys, they want to treat them like adults. You remember when Donald Trump was running for president the first time? And the videotape came out where he was talking about grabbing women by the genitals. And they came out by the droves to defend him. Even the white evangelical preachers were defending him. Oh, that's locker room talk. Now, as a former athlete, someone who played basketball, who ran track, spent a good amount of time in locker rooms, I don't ever remember, I remember, my fellow teammates talking about girls, but I don't ever remember them talking about sexually assaulting them, grabbing them by the genitals and crazy stuff like that. That ain't no locker room talk. That's sexual predator talk. But they used that boys will be boys defense for Donald Trump, even though at that time he was like a 60-something-year-old man. They always get a measure of empathy that black children don't get. Tamir Rice murdered in a park by a police officer sitting on a swing. On a swing with a toy gun. It's not unheard of for a child to be in a park with a toy gun. But he was immediately seen to be a threat. And in less than 3 seconds after the police officer got there, he shot this boy to death. And the same type of folk that are saying this penalty for these Southwick kids is too harsh were the same folks justifying Tamir Rice being murdered. Isn't that amazing? How their perspectives change depending on the race of the child involved. Isn't that amazing? And Tamir Rice was 12. A 12-year-old in a park playing with a toy was seen as a threatening adult because he was black. A full-grown Brett Kavanaugh sexually harassing folks was seen as boys will be boys. But now that there's some consequences, um, it seems as though there are some who believe that it's too far. Like, yeah, we want there to be consequences. We want the district to be held accountable, but we didn't say we wanted our kids to be prosecuted. That's y'all gone a little too far with that. Here I am, y'all. I had to get back on Facebook. I had to reboot the computer and stuff, but we's here. Um, we're here. Do y'all remember? There was a story. There was a guy named Ethan Couch. Um, some years ago. Let me look that case up because that's like the test case for this conversation. So it was in Texas. Yeah, the guy was Ethan Couch, um, young white boy, born to wealth. When he was 16, he killed 4 people driving drunk. All right. He pleaded guilty. He was drunk, clearly drunk. He got probation. Didn't spend a day in jail. Now, now you got to think about America's system. You got people like Khalif Browder who literally spent 3 years in Rikers Island, never going to trial, never being convicted of anything for allegedly stealing a book bag. Mm-hmm. Young black boy, allegedly stealing a book bag, kept him in solitary confinement for nearly 3 years. Do you know what that does to someone mentally and emotionally? To keep them locked in a dark room without a smidgen of light 23 hours a day for nearly 3 years? Because he allegedly stole a book bag and they never scheduled a trial date, violated his right to a speedy trial, all of that. And then, of course, when he was finally let out of prison, he committed suicide. This was over allegedly stealing a book bag. Ethan Couch killed 4 people and got probation. Don't tell me there aren't disparities in this injustice system in America. Don't tell me it's not based on race. And do you know the defense that was used for Ethan Couch? They brought a psychologist. The defense brought a psychologist to the witness stand and said that Ethan Couch was handicapped in his decision making because he had a life of privilege and excessive parental indulgence. Okay? Because his father was a billionaire. That kid got probation. Got probation. So this, to me, this is the same concept of those who feel like the kids in Southwick should not have to bear responsibility for their actions. That yeah, it was wrong what they did, but they shouldn't be prosecuted. What's that saying? Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Um, yeah, they're 13, 14, 15-year olds, but it's a lesson that they'll learn. And America has no problem. Most of the people who are facing juvenile trials and are charged as juveniles, most of the juveniles that are tried as adults are black. So if you think we're all of a sudden going to feel sorry for young white kids who think racial bullying is a joke, who think black kids that they go to school with are beneath them and are less than human, you get no empathy here. And especially not from the parents who taught them to be that way. Because those kids learned those attitudes in the homes. So when you teach kids in the home how to hate people that are different than they are, don't expect those different people to all of a sudden have empathy when they face consequences for their actions. I got several emails. How do you sleep at night? These are just kids. And my grandbabies are kids too. Okay? That could have been my grandbaby instead of Mrs. Lopez's daughter. Yeah. Our babies are just kids too, who deserve to be treated with humanity and dignity. And if you're going to teach your children how to be vile little racists and to go to school and to harass, bully, and violate our children, no, we're not going to have no empathy about them facing consequences. Teach your children better. Period. Somebody ought to put period in the comment section. Teach your children better. No, they don't get to bully our children, have slave auctions with our children, call our children niggers, put pictures of our children in the urinal and pee on it. And then when they have to face consequences for their vile little debauchery, you want us to feel empathy. And how do I sleep at night? I slept well. After yesterday's decision by the DA to prosecute these little racists, I slept well. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Bishop. Thank you for all the information that you provided us with. And I just wanted to say real quick that, excuse me, kids don't remain kids. They become adults.
There you go.
If there's no consequences for our choices in life, we don't learn anything. And as far as that the school district investigation, I kind of liken it to the Rooney Rule. In the NFL, when there's a coaching vacancy, because of the Rooney Rule, all the owners have to interview a black man. And most of the time when they do it, they have no intention on hiring a black coach. They just have to interview a black face because of the Rooney Rule. And I kind of liken it to the school district investigation. They had no intention on doing anything. They just did the investigation.
Absolutely.
You for all you've done, because I was in the post office on Liberty Street. It was about to close, and it was a long line. The line was out the door, and several people were talking about it. And I had made a comment. I said, Bishop Swan is not going to take this standard down. He's going to jump all in this. He ain't going to be in the Kool-Aid. He's going to make it. So I just thank you for all that you've done, and I really appreciate it. And we as a people in Western Mass appreciate you. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you, brother. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hello, Mr. Swan.
Yes.
This is Willie McCurry, first time caller.
Good morning. Welcome.
I first met you like 40 years ago.
Oh man, you're aging me, man. You're aging me.
Huh?
I said you're aging me. I don't know if I was alive 40 years ago.
Yeah, we first worked together up at Friendly's up there
I
on
remember. I remember you, me, Nate Parrish, Marcus. What's Marcus' last name? As well as I know him, I remember. Yes, sir.
okay. I'm just calling to talk about George Finney
Yes, sir.
because when they put him in the electric chair, he was too short for the electrodes. So they put a Bible under him as a booster seat, and then they electrocuted him.
Wow.
Yeah, they had him sit on a Bible as a booster seat so they could attach the electrodes to his legs, and because he was too short to fit in the electric chair.
My goodness. 14 years old, the youngest person ever executed by the state in the history of America, a young black boy for a crime he never committed.
I know. And I was up there talking earlier to my brother about how when we were growing up in Mississippi, our mother, grandmother, and great grandmother, they always told us about all those injustices that happened in Mississippi and other states towards black people. Because I had heard about George Finney before. That happened in Mississippi and other states.
Absolutely.
Because I had heard about George Finney before.
Thank you for your call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. I like to say I'm glad that took place because my granddaughter played for them last year, and they did that same thing to them on the basketball court.
Who now say that again? Who did what on the basketball court?
The same kids when they played basketball called them all kind of names on the basketball court and threatened them and everything.
Gotcha.
Bad, but she didn't know how to handle it because we didn't train her that way. She came home in tears. But guess what? She got a full scholarship at Winnick College. She's going there now to study to be a doctor. And the same kids are doing the same thing now, aren't they?
Wow. Thank you for your call. 413-736-2781. 7 minutes left in the program. I'll take your calls until show close. Listen, we teach our children that they have to be accountable for their actions. That's the reason why we tell kids to say thank you. We tell kids to say, I'm sorry. We teach our kids not to lie. We teach them to be accountable. I remember many, many years ago, my daughter Shannon, let me see, how old is Shannon? This Shannon just had a birthday last month. um, 36. She just turned 36. So this tells you how long ago it was. Shannon was I forget her exact age, but she was small enough that we were in Toys R Us. Okay. My wife and I took her to Toys R Us, and when we got out the store, got home, we found out that Shannon had taken something, stole something, had it in her pocket. And you know what we did as parents? We took her back to the store, made her return it, and made her apologize because we were trying to teach her that A, you can't behave in that way, and B, you've got to be accountable for your actions. That's what we teach our children. What message do you send to kids when You know their behavior is wrong, but then you tell people, oh, they shouldn't have to face those consequences. Why not? Why do our children have to face certain consequences, but yours don't? Why should we feel bad when your children face consequences for bullying our children, but you don't feel bad when your children bully our children? You see the double standard there? See the double standard there? This is the double standard in America. I'll give you this last example. Then I've got to move out the way because Don Felton is coming up next with mid-morning jazz. Um, I'll take a couple more phone calls and then I'll tell you this. The truth just happened. Woman was just sentenced last month, and it's going to blow your mind. This one. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, Bishop, good morning. I appreciate your work and the action that you're doing because it does take a village to raise a child. And all of us are a village, so we raising them children. And we have to let the public know that we are that village and we are going to stand up and voices be heard and our faces be seen in the community against these actions. And I appreciate what you're doing.
All,
those children that are guilty of that will grow up to be monsters.
absolutely. Appreciate your call. Let me get one person in the space and then we got to go, y'all. Amia Hampton, you're the last one of the day. Good morning, my sister.
Hey, good morning, Bishop. TGIF. Hope all is well.
All is well.
I called the tail end of your broadcast. I'll have to replay, but just so I'm understanding, they decided to go ahead and prosecute those Confederate thugs. Is that correct?
Yes. They filed charges against 6 juveniles.
Oh, great. This is good news. I do hope they prosecute to the fullest extent. I do hope that they get expelled. And I do pray that because of their expulsion, they'll have to repeat their grade. It is what it is. Like you said, it's a tale of two worlds. They are allowed to teach their kids immorality while we have to teach our kids morality. It's a double-edged sword for us, but this is really good news and great space as usual. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you. All right. I got to go, y'all. Don Felton is in the studio. He's coming up next with mid-morning jazz. He's going to make it smooth. He's going to make it personal. Don't y'all touch the dial. Just stay right here. Let me tell you this other case. Y'all will look it up. A woman was just given 2 years probation. I kid you not. White woman was just given 2 years probation for stabbing her boyfriend 108 times. Killed him. You know what the defense was? She had taken 2 hits. They were smoking weed together. She took 2 hits off the bong. And they said basically the influence of the marijuana is what caused her to murder her boyfriend. And so she shouldn't be held accountable for what she did while she was high. So she got 2 years probation for murder, stabbing him 108 times. Y'all remember Marissa Anderson, the black woman who fired a warning shot that didn't hit anyone? A warning shot for her ex-husband who was an abuser, who had a history of abusing her. She got arrested, got 20 years. Black woman, 20 years, firing a warning shot. White woman stabbed boyfriend 108 times. She was high. Let her get off. That's the type of unaccountability that white folks deal with in this injustice system. I got to go. Tune in on Monday to the spoken word. We'll be back with you. Don Felton's coming up next, so don't you touch that dial. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you
and so do I. Peace and blessings.
Thank you.